Well, thank you so much for talking with me this afternoon. I'm so excited to speak with you, even though it's only been a few months since graduation.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to let us know your name, your major, and the year that you graduated.
Yeah. So my name is Herbert Monroy. My major was Law, Justice, and Society, and I graduated in 2020.
All right, very good. So it's just been how many months? 2 months.
About two
A
months.
little
Yeah.
over 2 months in graduation. So that's great, Herb. I'm so glad that you were able to talk to us. So, where can we find you these days? What are you up to?
I am working at Rafa Institute. I am a restorative justice facilitator. They're a nonprofit that does restorative justice work here in Nashville.
Fabulous. How long have they been around, Herb? Do you know?
They've only been around, I want to say, since 2018. So it's
Okay.
about 2 years. It's a fairly new organization.
All right. That's wonderful. You kind of get in on the ground floor. You can see how everything is working and
Yeah.
make your impact there, which is great. So you just finished senior research as an LJS major in the
hmm
spring, and that senior research was your SALT Scholar project. So let us know, what was the focus of your SALT Scholar project?
Yeah, so in my Soul Scholar project, I dove deeper into the issues that were facing our educational disciplinary plans, more specifically the plans that affect zero tolerance policies in high school and how what effect they have on students, especially those at-risk students. There's also the misuse of school resource officers and the demanding role they play in high school disciplinary action. Some schools in the U.S. have began to use youth court as an alternative to disciplinary procedure, but I and others in the restorative justice field found it to be a bit lacking. The youth's voice was hidden behind a student attorney, and the community wasn't really reached as well as it could have been. I proposed the use of restorative community conferencing to be held in schools. It's a process that Rafah Institute and other nonprofits nationwide use to repair harm to a person or a community. The process does require a greater level of accountability from the youth, and it lets them directly heal any harm that may have caused to the community.
That's great. Thanks for that recap, Herb. That's wonderful. So, what did you see in your time at Lipscomb were the benefits of the SALT experiences that you had, including your SALT Scholar project? So, that would have been the project you did in influencing change through civic
Yeah.
engagement class, the internship that you had at Rafa, and then also the research that you did for your SALT Scholar project.
I also have another one to add on there
Yeah, good.
actually. Before
Good.
I was an LJS major, I was actually a chemistry major, and
Okay.
I completed a salt credit in my analytical chemistry class where we went to the
Yes.
Harpeth River and we tested, the water levels for iron and just different levels of pollution. And we partnered with like Vanderbilt's lab, and we were able to get those results and find out that there actually was a sort of increase in, the levels of pollution than there should be. So that was
Hmm,
pretty interesting there.
interesting.
But when it comes to my OJS courses and civic engagement in my internship, those opportunities, they allowed me to think bigger when looking at an issue and how to identify that there was, in fact, an issue. And just influencing change, we reached out to Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, and we were able to learn just sort of how advocacy really looks like.
That's great. And I love hearing that you did that chemistry class, Herb. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it a little bit of a surprise that chemistry could have some form of community service impact?
Honestly, yes, because from the talks that they have, it's mostly just like, oh, we're doing this research, and you
Mhm.
only hear about research and research, but what does the research actually help do? And we
Good.
were able to, get in that space.
Yeah, that's great. Making that connection between conducting some form of research, but actually seeing that it has a community benefit or community impact.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So it's only been 2 months since graduation and we're in a pandemic. But what unexpected things have you navigated since May that maybe are pandemic related, but maybe are just kind of transition related? And what are there some things that you wish you had known earlier this year that might have helped kind of ease that transition to the next phase?
Honestly, for me, it's the amount of time I have now and how to use that wisely.
Yeah.
Before, when
Yeah.
school was in session, I would have a set routine. I would wake up in the morning, I would drop my sister off at Lipscomb Academy, and then I'd have a few hours for homework before classes began. I would work on the weekends. Sometimes I'd have my internship. But now I just I don't know where to start. And now that I'm able to work from home and I have so much time on my hands, I
Hmm.
just I don't know how to spend it wisely, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I would have had something I would have liked to have learned, I would have liked to have learned, just how to search for more opportunities to learn online, like different, as right now our Rafa Institute is having a focus on webinars and just increasing our awareness about just different social issues.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think the challenge of disruption to schedules for everyone these days has been really, really significant, and
Mhm.
a realization of how much we do typically rely on schedules and kind of our calendar to let us know, where we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to be spending our time. But it really is a big ask, I think, for everyone these days to kind of figure out what does it look like when the days kind of all look like each other.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make meaning out of, just life reduced to its most essential function. So definitely, I think it's a challenge for all of us. But as you think back on those SALT experiences that you had, Herb, everything from the chemistry class to your internship to senior research, what kind of skills or abilities did you foster through those projects that you feel like are helpful to you now and that you anticipate to be helpful to you in the future?
Yeah, so at my current job, we're currently looking towards accepting new case types. Recently, we got approval to process simple robbery cases. And if we want to be able to take more of those cases, we have to do the research of the benefits of restorative justice and what they may have when dealing with certain case types. For my self experience, it provided me with the ability to locate, scholarly research that actually helps and how to interpret that research and see if it's actually beneficial to my cause. Just learning the ways in which to present your research effectively was also a benefit from my SALT courses.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Herb. The idea that, like, how do we find good information, break it down, understand it, and then present it to other people? I feel like that's a huge learning process, and both
Hmm.
research experiences and then also doing applied learning helps us be able to do all of those things. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really significant skill that you'll continue to use, I would imagine. So, what words of advice would you share with current students, seniors or students at other levels who are kind of thinking about what comes next after graduation?
I'd say for those seniors in that research, going towards into that research project, I'd say to find a research topic that is something you're passionate about. I wouldn't say just to go for that easy A. Challenge yourself and you'll see unexpected growth, not only in your research, but your presentation skills as a person. And also to follow that path the professor has outlined for you. It'll help tremendously in the long run. And as someone who has had their share of procrastination, it's not ideal to juggle midterms, exams, papers, and your research project.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Any advice, like general advice for current students on kind of navigating senior year and then the job field? Do you maybe want to talk about kind of how you transition from an internship to a position at Rafa?
Yeah, so I was able to. I really like the SALT program because there's a community there that helps you and guides you through your journey in college. And I was given advice from yourself and then Professor Spivey on how to sort of confront that situation of, hey, I really like this internship and I really like the work we're doing. How do I sort of continue in this area? And I was able to get a lot of help and I was able to finally, muster up the courage and put myself out there. And thankfully, I did receive a position with Rafa. So I just want to say that, just putting yourself out there, making sure you take advantage of the professors you have at this university and the SALT program is just, it helps a lot.
That's great, Herb. That's awesome. Yeah, I love your story about being bold and saying, "Hey, I want to work for this organization" after the internship ends, and then asking for it, and then seeing some positive results that came from that. It's
Mhm.
wonderful. Any other words of advice or anything else that you would share with those who will be watching this?
I think that's all I have for you today.
Great. That's awesome, Herb. I appreciate it so much. I'm glad to talk to you.
Definitely.
Thanks.